everyone. I'm Jhanna and I'm here with my best friend Edel. And today we're going to be talking about Edel's experience on the COVID front lines for the last almost 1 year. And we apologize for not being able to put out a video sooner because both Edel and I were unwell. Both of us contracted COVID and we were in quarantine. If you would like to know more about what our experience was, please head over to Edel's channel, Red Your Halo, and we're giving our experience of what it was like. So, talking about COVID, it's what everybody's talking about, and just wanted to ask you a few questions, Adele, about what your experience has been like, and things that you've been exposed to, learned on the COVID front lines. So if you could give us a little bit of idea, just to know what health workers are experiencing as well. Maybe as lay people, we may understand a little bit more about what we can do from our side to be a little bit more responsible. So, firstly, congratulations! You're almost completing 1 year in a couple of weeks. And we did one Q&A session last year when you were into the job just for 1 month, and now you're almost one whole year wiser. So, what has it been like for you?
Rewarding. This is the only thing I'm trained for to do, and the fact that what I'm trained for is what I'm called to do in this time of crisis is makes me feel useful, valid, and responsible. So I am so grateful that I could be of use right now.
And what about some of the things that you have learned on the front lines?
Number one, we have to understand that we are, yes, we are in a crisis. And the reason for the crisis is um, the lack of monitoring. Human beings will do what human beings do, which is why we have the police, which is why we have teachers, which is why we have professors, we have law and order, we have a judicial system. People will do what people do. There has been a laxity in our governance. People, when we elect people to be in power, when we pay our taxes for law and order to be maintained, we expect to relax in those areas so that the people that we've elected and we've given the responsibility to will keep us in check. And this is necessary because this is the human condition. I feel there has been a grave laxity and a huge dishonor done to all of us. And as a result of our government, as a result of the law and order, as a result of everything being very relaxed, the condition we are in has happened. Having said that, um, there is a great amount of hope, number one. We should understand that we are an extremely populous country. Uh, and the statistics that we are seeing in the news is not necessarily as bad as the media wants to make it out to seem like it is. And the reason for that is India is a threatening power to the world because we have the largest educated population. The average age group of India is 27 years. Um, and it is very easy, if we know our own power, for us to overtake the world. So to keep us uninformed and to keep us in a state of fear is very advantageous to countries that could otherwise not benefit from us knowing our own power. The last time I checked, I think the death rate in the US was about 666. I think this statistic is from 2 days ago. And this is after almost more than half of their population has been vaccinated. They have, they've, they've, they've overcome the lack of beds and the crisis that we're now facing that they had earlier in this year. They have overcome it with a lot of material wealth that they do possess, right? Now, we have the second largest population in the world, and our mean age, like I said, is 27 years. China is over us by a small percentage. The Chinese population is just slightly over us, but the rate at which their population has grown has plummeted, whereas we have kept a steady rate of growth in population. So China has a larger, older population group than a younger population group. India has a larger, younger population group than an older population group. We have to understand that 666 people dying in America is equivalent to 3,000, 4,000 people dying in India, statistically speaking, right? Death is a death. If anybody dies in your home or my home, I'm not going to be sitting there feeling comforted by statistic. But this is basically for people who are looking to make sense of the chaos that seems to be generated out of nowhere. This does not mean that we should put our guards down. This does not mean that we are not in the midst of a crisis. This does not mean that, oh, it'll blow past us even if we don't do anything. No, this is the time of action. We should have been in a national lockdown at least a month ago. That hasn't happened. This is a huge, huge mistake in the part of our central government. The fact that we are only now in a lockdown in our state is very sad, but at least we are. Will we beat this? Yes, we will. Will there be a lot of death? Yes, there will. Will it slow and make the economy bad? No, it won't. It won't. It won't make the economy bad. In fact, our economy is actually growing, and eventually our bounce back from this is going to be so enormously good. How it is going to affect every individual person who probably works abroad and is now in India, whether they can go abroad to search for a job, that is to be seen. But I do not think in any way our economy is out of whack. I think what we will suffer, though, would be our internal economy, our internal equilibrium. For us to come back to an internal equilibrium will take a little bit of tweaking. We can't go back to what was normal, the way we bounced back after the first wave, the way we did. We cannot afford to do that anymore. We have to learn a new normal. And if we don't learn from the second wave, I really have nothing more to say after this point. I suppose we are unteachable after a certain point. So we have to learn a new normal. And I'm actually filled with hope. I'm not in any way, I'm not at all. I'm completely convinced that if we ignore the media and if we stay focused and listen to only what the doctors say and stop panicking, we'll be fine. We really will be fine because nothing is so terribly out of control that we need to run around like headless chickens. I don't know how many people are going to believe me and do the actual research that needs to be done. The reason I'm not going into greater statistical detail is because I feel it will offend people. It may, but I would encourage all of you to do your own math, see the statistics, the number of deaths per our population, what our mean average age group is, what the projected population is in 10 years' time. Things like that. Do your own research and find out, are we really as bad as the world wants to make us out to be? And you'll find out that the answer is no, it's not. And the reason we could probably pump a lot of money in and just try to build this huge hospitals with oxygen cylinders. We could start that, and we have the money to do that instead of building new parliament buildings. But it's just my thought. But anyway, we could do that. But in the end, this is going to blow over. It may not feel like it. Many of us are stuck in the tragedy of a loved one passing. We are stuck in the midst of waiting for somebody to get better in a hospital, not knowing, feeling helpless. So for us, it will seem like the emotional decision to build huge structures with oxygen, tents with oxygen supplies. This can be done. But the cost of doing that, and then the period of time it's going to be useful in, is going to be enormously bad for us. There's going to be another huge crisis after that. So our focus at this time should be home quarantine and educating people, and we need more people to talk to patients and calm them down and give them answers that they are seeking. Home care and teleconsultation has to play a vital role. This is far more important than rushing towards hospitals and oxygen beds and things like that. Unfortunately, this is where we're lacking, and many hospitals are doing their utmost best. At least I know 5 hospitals that I know doctors who are working in, and I'm kind of in contact with. They're all working so hard to make information available to patients so that they are not stressed and they don't come to a hospital in seeking treatment that need not be availed to them at this moment in time, that we can wait and see. Body has an incredible capacity to regenerate, heal, and correct any mal-equilibrium. It does. We need to give it time. And sometimes it's difficult with the unnecessary way in which things are being covered by the media, the poorly research statistics that's being fed to us. If we could only keep our heads straight and calm everybody down, we will get through this. We are getting through this. We will get through this. This will blow over, and we'll be fine. Sorry, that was a long answer to the question, but yeah.
Of course. I mean, it's what your experience is, what you're seeing on the front lines, right? Because
Yeah.
as a doctor, you obviously see so much more than somebody who's not on the front line, somebody who's not, like, at least me, I don't go searching for news about COVID because I don't know what to do to make it better except just stay at home unless I need to step out for an emergency. I really don't know what else I have in my control at this point of time. So it really helps when you give this information that, don't panic about it, because that is another thing. When we've had conversations, you've mentioned about certain patients who get a little sicker faster because they're panicking, right? Like
Yes.
their tendency, I mean, their condition tends to escalate the minute they panic, even if it's almost like very easily treatable. So what would your advice be in terms of someone who has contracted COVID and easily treatable, or in certain conditions where they may need to seek out hospitals? So what would your um, definition be for somebody who needs a hospital treatment or somebody who needs home quarantine? How would you decide that?
I think 75%, this is obviously an anecdotal statistic, in my opinion, 75% of the patients who are heading to the hospital need not necessarily head to the hospital. Most of them, 75% get better in home quarantine. And if you've already received at least one vaccination, one dose of your vaccination, you are fine. Okay. I when I had really high temperature because I am exposed to a huge viral load working in the front line. So when I contracted when I became COVID positive, my fever was astronomically high. And technically, that's the temperature where we advise patients to come to the hospital and be seen and checked by a doctor, right? But then, well, being a doctor, I just decided, but I don't feel the fever. I don't feel weak. I don't feel ill or sick. So I gave my body enough and more rest. I just lay on my tummy the whole time, had anti-inflammatories, aspirin tablets, once or twice a day, depending upon what the fever was like, had my inhalers, and that's it. And my body was able to take care of it because I've had 2 doses. All the healthcare workers received the vaccination first in our country. So I had my second dose in February. So my body knew about the virus, had a little bit of knowledge about no matter how much the virus is able to mutate and form the second wave, there is a knowledge of its relative. So the body knows how to take care of us. So the people who've had even just 1 dose of the vaccination, relax. If your fever goes beyond 101, 102 consistently and is not coming down with your anti-inflammatories or with your paracetamol tablets, go to the hospital. Let the doctor examine you. Do not try to influence the doctor by exaggerating the symptoms in order to make sure you get a bed. Because what we're doing at this time of crisis is taking the bed away from somebody who deserves to have the bed, right? So I understand your concern. I understand how frightening it must be. But we're in this together. Let's all be in this together. Go to a doctor whom you trust, a hospital whom you trust. Don't go to a place that's just, oh, I don't like this place, but it's close by. Don't go there. So go to a place that you feel you can trust and believe what the doctor tells you. Don't go to a place that you don't like and then whatever they say may not sit well with you. Or don't go to a place where wanting to hear something from the doctor and the doctor is just not saying what you want to hear. So trying to, pressure the doctor into giving you the answer that you want to hear. So understand that, number one. Go to a doctor, listen to the doctor, follow what the doctor says. And the second one, if you do get admitted in the hospital, don't get worried about remdesivir injections. Don't get worried about tocilizumab and all the big words that you're hearing right now. Just don't. From June last year, when I started working in the front line, up until almost June, July, August, September, we were not using remdesivir quite so fluently in the wards. Remdesivir was reserved for patients who head to the ICU, right? And as a result, many patients got better and went home without having to use remdesivir. And as a result of the media and how people interpret medical information when you're not trained to be a doctor, there is this incredible fear that, oh my God, I have to give remdesivir. If I don't give remdesivir to this patient, the patient might die. It's not true. It's not true. Just relax. We've got this, right? And yes, remdesivir is in a shortage. We still treated patients last year without remdesivir, and they all got better, and now they're fine at home, right? So relax. The reason this virus is tricky is because there's so many treatments that are available for this particular virus, right? And the reason for that is because it's a tricky virus. Not one particular treatment works, which is why we hit it with so many different types of bombs, hoping that one thing works. And I've seen this incredible consultant that I work under. He has treated COVID for patients with just aspirin, 75 milligrams EcoSprin. That's it. And I'd be there itching my fingers off saying, sir, shall we give this patient something else, this patient something else? He said, no, aspirin, 75 milligrams aspirin, 1 tablet in the afternoon. And that's dependent on the CT scan and dependent on the blood reports. And the patient is like fever, and he's like, I don't care about the fever, EcoSprin. And he's cured so many patients with aspirin and small doses of steroid tablets, right? You don't have to do that while being admitted in the hospital. you could still avail of that treatment while at home, as long as we're not panicking and we're not. Um, let's take a sense of ownership. Let's realize that, um, I'm not just responsible for my health, I'm also responsible for my neighbor's health, my family's health, my society's health. And the health of the society depends largely on the educated population. We have to be the first people to get vaccinated so that we are the torch bearers of the vaccination movement. We should be the first people to quarantine and show the world that quarantining is enough, and let everybody know that we got better with just quarantining. Third, we should be very responsible to get tested whenever the symptoms arise, um, and not panic, and let people understand that when we do it consistently, there are lots of people who are watching us who will understand and who will take the lesson from us and behave accordingly. So I would strongly recommend stay at home. Whatever treatment that the doctor recommends, admission in the hospital, either in a room or in the ICU, follow that. Or if they recommend home quarantining, let it be there. Do not exaggerate symptoms. Do not exaggerate the urgency of the situation in order to get the patient into a hospital and take that precious bed away from somebody who truly deserves it. And let the person who decides whether you deserve to be in the hospital or not be somebody who is trained in that, in which case it's a doctor, right? Relax. This will get sorted. Don't get worried about tocilizumab, remdesivir. These are words that should mean nothing to anybody else, should only mean something to the doctors. And patients can be treated without tocilizumab, without remdesivir. They can be treated with just aspirin. I've seen it happen so many times, it's beyond belief, right? The most important thing, do not panic, number one. Understand that panicking is going to make it worse. Just do not, the minute you get tested positive or you display symptoms, stop watching the news, stop doing anything that stresses you out. Isolate yourself, lay on your tummy, do not take deep breaths, do not do steam inhalation, do not do pranayama or breathing exercises at that time. Lay on your tummy, do some teleconsultation with a doctor of your choice, follow the prescription that they give you, and take it one step at a time, right? If you panic, everything gets muddled. The light doesn't shine on that one step ahead of you. But if you just relax and go with the flow, things will get better. Do not worry.
All right, that seems like so much heavy information, but I'm glad that you did talk about it, because a lot of people don't get to hear this side of a doctor's perspective, right? Because there was this video I watched, I think a couple of weeks ago, where it said the same thing. Doctors are people too, and the minute you start exaggerating, their bias will also come into place, and then they will be reacting to what you're doing, because clearly this is like it's a huge large scale pandemic, right? So they're going to like feed off of your energy and then give you what you are looking for. So as much as we want to get healed and we're unwell, we want to get better soon, putting that kind of pressure on the medical system is also a lot. So if it is completely curable, if you're staying at home, and like you said, 75% of the people that you have seen didn't possibly require a hospital setup scenario where they had to come and get better at the hospital, then it should be doable, right? You take care of yourself at home, be responsible when you go out, please wear a mask. And it is ridiculous that I have to mention it now after 1 year of the pandemic, that wearing a mask is necessary, because even now I see a lot of people just walking around like it's nothing. So I think if we take care of these few things, we should be able to sort of
Yes.
get better maybe sometime in the near future. That's just hopeful, wishful thinking, but you never know, right? So yeah, so thank you so much for sharing your insight, Adele. And is there anything else that you'd like to just add to closing?
I think we're going to have the problem with the coronavirus at least for the next foreseeable future. We get over the second wave and then coronavirus is no more. No, we're going to have the coronavirus is here to stay, and we will have the repercussions of this and outbreaks of this for the foreseeable future. When I say foreseeable future, I mean like another 5 years at least. So this is not going to stop. So we have to learn. We have to learn a new way of living, which includes social distancing, which means we're going to have to wear masks. We are going to have to learn how to keep ourselves clean, how to be fit, how to not eat junk and contract lifestyle illnesses. We are going to have to learn how to be healthier than we've ever been before, right? And the positive thing is, if you've been exposed to the coronavirus, it means you have immunity to it. If you've been exposed to the vaccination for the coronavirus, you've been immune to it, right? So take hope from that. Herd immunity is not very far behind. Whether you've been vaccinated or have been infected and had the disease, if everybody is exposed to the virus in some form or the other, we will develop herd immunity, and that's not too far in the future. But the virus is very tricky and mutates very fast. And the only way to beat the virus is, number one, vaccination. Number one. Up until everybody is vaccinated, lockdown. Whether the government, I think the government has failed us so badly that we have to take the lockdown into our own personal hands. And this is difficult as human beings to not see a lockdown, but still live like as though you are in a lockdown. So live like you're in a lockdown for at least for the next month, which means mid-June. Like, live like you're in a lockdown for 1 month, okay? Make sure you're vaccinated by that time. And after your lockdown is over, right, when you go out, make social distancing a normal thing. Do not put your mask to cover just your mouth. Don't wear the mask as a beard. Wear the mask here, and change your mask every 24 hours. And especially if we're living in a we live in a hot country, we're sweating all the time. So change the mask if the mask becomes wet. There's no point in drying the mask and wearing it again. That's not how it works. So make sure that you change your mask. Invest money in masks now, right? Wear a mask all the time. Make sure your contact with human beings is minimal to non-existent, in the sense that you say hello with your elbow, sneeze into your elbow. I would recommend that if you're on Tinder and you're active on other dating sites and things like that, to refrain from meeting strangers. I would recommend that if you are, have to go to some function. Now people are live streaming all their events. Please participate in that. Prefer that to being in person with any place where there is a crowd of people. So maintain social distancing. So first, vaccinate. Number two, make sure that you're in your own personal lockdown for a month. Number three, wear a mask at all times. Follow mask safety. Number four, make social distancing your reality till we spend at least a consistent 6 months time with the death rate because of COVID being lesser than 100. Until that time comes, let this be the normal, which might sound like a very, very long time away for us. And it may well be, but take responsibility now. Our government has failed us. So we need to take the responsibility and be responsible for ourselves and the people around us. Yes.
And of course, it'll seem like a boot camp at the beginning, but at least you're over and done with it in a shorter period of time. That's really strenuous. So it
Yes.
becomes a little easier in the future, right? So that's very sound advice. It makes so much sense. I do have one question, however. You mentioned that we are immunized when we get the vaccination or if we've been exposed to COVID. but that doesn't mean that we can't contract it again, right?
Oh, I had my vaccination and I still got I
Yeah.
still got infected. Uh, but your body will recognize the virus a little bit better, and you have a greater chance of beating the disease. And the chance of you needing admission in the hospital or heading to the ICU if you are in the hospital, all of that drops dramatically. So, absolute necessity to vaccinate. Vaccinate. There is no other. There's no discussion here. Nobody's feelings. Your feelings are not called to. I don't care what your feelings are. I don't care what your. I want to wait and see for the. Get vaccinated. Just get vaccinated.
I think right now the vaccine is in such short supply because every time I try to book a
Yeah.
vaccination session for me, I mean, vaccination slot for me, I'm not able to. So, what about people like me, for example? I have contracted COVID and yet to get my first dose. So, is it possible for somebody to get reinfected, and how would that possibly affect someone who's not been vaccinated but contracting COVID for the second time? Do you have some idea about that?
Um, I think everybody should. The shortage of the vaccine will be sorted out, right? India produces 60% of the world's vaccines, right? Whatever glitch we are facing right now is just a glitch. So let's just, sometimes homes we run out of money. There's more month uh, than budget. So but we still grit our teeth and we push through, and then we're out, right? So likewise, we're going through a glitch. Yes, it's a fuck up glitch, but it is still a glitch. We will get over it. Vaccines will be made available to everybody over the age of 18 for free in all hospitals come the third week of May. This is going to happen. Whether you've been infected by COVID positive, in which case you had an RT-PCR positive COVID infection in your past or not, get vaccinated. Once you get vaccinated, you may have a flare up of a symptom, like you may feel tired, you may have fever for a couple of days, you may have it. Take a couple of paracetamols, lay on your tummy, it'll pass off. Don't worry about that. And if it doesn't, then contact your doctor, and then we'll take it one step at a time, and we'll know what to do from there. Everybody needs to be vaccinated because the second wave is not a huge respecter of age. Oh, this person is below the age of 45. I cannot infect this person. That's not what the second wave is doing at the moment, right? So be wary. We all need to get vaccinated. Everybody, like even the below 18s actually need to be vaccinated. I would think that the vaccination age should start from 14, but that's just my personal belief. But even over the age of 18, let's get the ball rolling, right? And let's get everybody vaccinated. If you don't have a vaccine, I think passports should not be made valid for people. Your Aadhaar card should, red light people who are not vaccinated. I'm sorry if I sound like a bit of a big brother type of person, but this is crisis time, right? And the only hope that is being offered is through the vaccination, right? So make sure that you get vaccinated and don't travel. Otherwise, don't. This is an airborne disease, right? You and I, we're not bigger than this. We have to make our body a familiar environment to the disease. Only when it's an unfamiliar environment does it come and colonize and cause such a huge disturbance. So we want our bodies to become familiar with the virus in a particular way so that it has the memory and the immunity comes up to balance it out, so that we are, when the next influx or an infection comes in, the body raises up to the challenge. The immunity raises up. There is no reality of suppressing an infection and increasing immunity. There is no such thing. Our immunity will only be in the same level as the amount of infection we have. So if we're going to live in a sterile world, our immunity will be very, very low, right? So make sure that you try to live a normal life, but a responsible life. Get vaccinated, introduce your body to a non threatening version of the virus so your body has some sort of an idea on what game this is, so that when, if at all, a huger or a different mutation, a different strain of the virus gets introduced into your body has some sort of a clue as to, it's like being a doctor. I mean, none of us were trained to treat COVID virus, but we were trained in treating the human body, right? So when the COVID virus came in and people came with certain diseases, our medical training in every other system helped us, and we were able to treat the COVID. Likewise, your body needs some introduction to the virus, and give it that safe introduction in the form of a vaccination. Please, please, please just get vaccinated. Yes, we are in a shortage. It'll soon be sorted out. Once it gets sorted out, rush and get vaccinated. Yes.
All right. Thank you so much for sharing so much. And I hope this video reaches a lot of people, because we're just trying to do our little bit of what we understand could be helpful for everybody. All right. Thank you so much, Edel. And again, congratulations for being in your front line for almost 1 year. I hope you get to learn a lot more, and I hope you get to share more of what you've been learning. And maybe next year, when if we do a video about the COVID virus, hopefully it'll be on a more positive note from the cases that have gone down. All right. And I hope everybody who's watching this, I hope you get what you need to from this. And if you have any questions, please feel free to drop a message and we will reply as soon as we can. And thank you so much. And we will see you in a couple of weeks. Bye bye.
Bye bye.